Yesterday we discussed about this Goldengate architecture. So let us go through it again. Let us brush up our concepts once again related to Goldengate architecture. This is the most important concept as we discussed yesterday. Okay, so there would be source and target database, which could be Oracle or non-Oracle database. So as discussed yesterday, Goldengate works on homogeneous as well as heterogeneous environment. So Goldengate can replicate the data from Oracle to Oracle, Oracle to non-Oracle, non-Oracle to Oracle, or Oracle to Oracle database, and that too in bidirectional environment. So Goldengate is a change data capture tool which reads the data out of your transactional logs. In case of Oracle, those transactional logs are your archive logs or your redo logs. So there is a capture process which okay, so there is a capture process which captures the committed transaction. It reads your redo logs and archive logs or transaction logs, read them in sequential manner, and captures only committed transactions, ignoring the uncommitted one. Once the capture process has captured the committed transaction, it will write them to a local trail file. These local trail files are local to your source. That's why we call them as local trail file, or they are also known as source trail files. Now these trail files are binary format trail files which are similar to your archive log files and are not readable except using some Goldengate utility which we are going to discuss at the end of the session. So capture process captures the data, captures the committed data, writes them to local trail. Now once the data is returned to the local trail, there is another Goldengate process which is data pump. So data pump reads the data out of your local trail, sends the data over TCP/IP network to another trail file on target. Now trail file on target are remote to your source, so they are known as remote trail file. Once the data is written into remote trail file, there is another delivery process, Goldengate process, which comes into picture, reads the data out of your remote trail and apply them to target database. So there are three processes, Goldengate processes involved over there: capture, pump, and delivery. Now pump, remember one thing, pump reads the data out of your local trail file. It does not send the full trail file to the target system. It sends the data, only data. That's why it is again the lag which we discussed yesterday. The lag in Goldengate is very less. It does not wait for full trail file to get generated. As soon as data comes in trail file, it at the very same moment it transfers them to target machine. Similarly for bidirectional, now for bidirectional, consider bidirectional as a two-way unidirectional. So what happens in bidirectional system? Now your target will act as new source and your source will act as new target now. So what would happen? Now capture process will exist on your new source. It will read the data out of a transaction logs, write them to source trail. Pump will read the data out of your source trail, sends the data to new target, write them to target trail. Replicate process will read the data from remote trail and apply them to target database. So bidirectional is two-way unidirectional. So what would happen in bidirectional? Your capture process, pump process, and delivery process would exist on both the environments. Similarly, local trail and remote trail. They will also exist on both the environments. So this again is the architecture. Now this capture process is also known as an extract process. This capture process is also known as an extract process because it extracts the data out of your source database. Because it extracts the data out of your source database. So that's why this capture process is also known as a extract process. Similarly, this capture process captures the committed transaction and writes them to your local trail. Pump process will read the data out of your local trail. So pump process will read the data out of your local trail, sends them over TCP IP network. Data, you could encrypt the data. We are going to discuss about encryption during the later part of the session. You could encrypt the data because in today's IT world, the main requirement is data should not be exposed to the outer world, be it financial organization, be it your telecom organization or any other organization. No one wants to data expose exposing the data is never ever they would never allow you to expose the data to the outer world. So this data, we'll see how Goldengate maintains this security. Once the data is sent over TCP IP network from local trail to remote trail by data pump, delivery process will come into picture and apply them to target database. In bidirectional, same things which we have discussed will come into picture. So capture process is also known as an extract process. So whenever we are saying extract process, we mean to say capture process. Pump process also refers to your data pump. Delivery process also refers to your replicate process. So remember, whenever we are saying extract process, it means that it is a capture process which is going to extract the data. Basically, Goldengate is a ETL tool. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So extract process extracts the data from source database. Data pump process sends the data over TCP IP network, and delivery process is also known as the replicate process, which replicates the data. So capture process, whenever we are referring to extract, it is capture process. Whenever we are referring to data pump, it is always pump process, and whenever we are referring to replicate, it is always a delivery process. So we are now going to move ahead with the installation. So Goldengate installation is very easy. So we are going to download it from edelivery.oracle.com website. But you need to have some Oracle account for this. So you need to log into edelivery.oracle.com and you need to sign in. Once you are signed in, you need to agree to their terms and conditions. Now Oracle Goldengate is a fusion middleware product. Oracle Goldengate is a fusion middleware product. So when it asks you to select a product pack, you need to choose Oracle Fusion middleware and platform would be Microsoft Windows 32. Means it depends on your platform. So my machine is Microsoft Windows 32-bit. So now if you are downloading it for a Linux machine, then you need to select Linux x86 for 32-bit and x86 64 for 64-bit, or HP UX. Means there are various platforms available for which you could download the Goldengate binaries. So Jagata, you had one question yesterday related to platform. Does Goldengate have Mac as well? Goldengate supports Mac as well. So you have your Mac available over here as well. So you could download it for Mac 32-bit, Mac 64-bit, or Power PC as well. So you need to select a platform for this. Once you have selected Oracle Fusion middleware and platform, click on Go. Now here you will find all the Fusion middleware products listed. Now remember, binaries for Oracle Goldengate for Oracle and non-Oracle, they differs. So if you are downloading the binaries, for non-Oracle database, choose non-Oracle. If you are downloading the binaries for Oracle, choose Oracle. So it is Oracle Goldengate on Oracle version 11.2.1 media pack for Microsoft Windows. I'll select this. I'll click on continue. So version 11.1 is also available, version 11.2 is also available. Now here again, binaries for Oracle 10G would differ and binaries for Oracle 11G would differ. So if you are downloading it for 11G, then download it for 11G. If you want to work on Goldengate for database Oracle 10G, then download it for 10G. Now if you see, the size of these binaries is very small. It is only 30 MB, so it is not very big. Okay, so you can click on download, your binaries will get downloaded. I have already downloaded it on my machine, so I'll go to softwares. So here are the binaries which I have downloaded. I have already downloaded those binaries. Okay, so once you have downloaded, so your binaries are available with you. Now what I'll do, so these binaries comes in zipped format. So I need to copy it to, I'll copy it at some place. I'll rename it as OGG underscore 2. I'll rename it as OGG training. Now I need to simple installation of these Goldengate. This Goldengate is very easy. What you need to do, you just need to unzip and untar these binaries. That's it. Once you have unzipped and untar, your installation is done. Now I'm unzipping it. So once I have unzipped it, my Goldengate binaries are installed. So installation of Goldengate binaries is done. Installation of Goldengate binary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Tom. I'm just going through the site.
So once you have unzipped, your installation is done, remember. So you are done with the installation. Now let us enter into the Goldengate command prompt. Now here you will find that there is one exe file which is ggSCI. ggSCI stands for Goldengate Software Command Interface. ggSCI stands for Goldengate Software Command Interface. So what you need to do then, you just need to go into ggSCI prompt. Once you go into ggSCI prompt, you are now into Goldengate. Now here you will find that it says Goldengate Command Interpreter for Oracle version 11.101, and this is Goldengate version 11.101 which we have downloaded right now. So we are into Goldengate command prompt. Now if you will see, the next step for us to do is for completing the installation. For completing the installation, actually there are some directories which needs to be created. Now you will find that those directories are not part of this installation as of now. Now how to create those binaries? I just need to give create sub-dirs. Now when I give this, these files, these directories, dir prm, dir rpt, dir chk, dir pcs, dir sql, dir def, dir dat, dir tmp, and dir out. These 8 directories get created. Now if you'll go to that location, earlier these directories were not created. These directories were not part of your installation. These have been created when I did create sub-dirs. So these 8 directories creates when you do create sub-dirs. So all these directories are pretty important, means all these directories have to be created. And how do you create them? Just type in the command create sub-dirs by logging into ggSCI prompt, Goldengate command interface prompt. Once you are into Goldengate command interface, you have to give create sub-dirs to create all these 8 directories. Now your installation is almost complete. So installation of Goldengate is quite easy. Download the Goldengate software from OTN or edelivery.oracle.com. Select the product pack as Oracle Fusion middleware and choose the platform. Unzip and untar the software. Now you need to enter the ggSCI prompt and issue the below command create sub-dirs. This will create Goldengate related directories. Now we'll discuss these points while we are discussing these DML synchronization. However, remember the prerequisite for Goldengate is to enable your installation is done at this point. Once you have done create sub-dirs, your installation is done. Installation of Goldengate is completed. Now your next step would be to configure the Goldengate. Now how to configure Goldengate? First you have to create a database level user which will be used by Goldengate processes. So first at the database level, as we are using this Oracle database. So in Oracle database, first you need to create a database level user which will be used by Goldengate processes. So that would be specific to your Goldengate. So first you need to create a database level user And another thing which you need to do, you need to enable minimal supplemental logging at database level. This is another prerequisite. This is the prerequisite. Alter database, add supplemental log data all columns. Now this is the prerequisite with every change data capture tool. You have to do it with every database. So it adds, what does supplemental log data do? It adds the extra column into your redo log to identify the row which has been updated. So you need to enable the minimal supplemental logging at database level. This is another prerequisite. We'll discuss more on this when we are starting with the configuration part. We'll discuss more on this. Now let us discuss about directories which were created. When we did create sub-dirs, there were certain directories which got created. Now every directory has some significance. Whatever directories we created has some significance. So let us discuss what is that. Now dir chk. These are the 8 directories which got created. Dir chk, dir dat, dir def, dir pcs, dir prm, dir rpt, dir sql and dir tmp. Now the best thing about Goldengate is whether it is any parameter or anything else related to Goldengate, whether the parameters or anything else, if you'll look into the name, you will be able to understand what do they mean. They are simple plain text. So dir chk, as we discussed yesterday, there is a checkpoint process in Goldengate which maintains the data integrity. Now every change data capture tool performance, if you remember yesterday we discussed, every change data capture tool performance is measured in on two aspects. One is data integrity and second one is lag. So data integrity should be maintained. There should be no compromise with the data, and the lag should be minimal without compromising any data integrity. So how do Goldengate manages the data integrity? Using the checkpoint files. Now those checkpoint files are created under dir chk folder. Now right now if I'll go into dir chk, you'll find that nothing is there. In fact, in all the directories, nothing is there. If I'll go into all the directories, nothing you'll be able to find. All the directories are empty as of now because these directories are created for processes. Once we'll configure the Goldengate processes, then you'll find that these directories are having some files. So dir chk, it stores Oracle Goldengate checkpoint files. Checkpoint files are used for maintaining data integrity. Now dir dat. Now it stores your Goldengate source trail files and remote trail files. Now extract captures and write them to local trail. Pump reads the data from local trail and sends them to remote trail. So where those trail file resides, those trail file resides under dir dat folder, dir dat folder. So we'll be creating, while configuring, we will provide the default location which would be dir dat. Now dir def, this is a definition directory. Now why do we use this definition dir def? Why do we need to generate the definition? Now we discussed that Goldengate works on a heterogeneous environment. Again, it also works on when the structure of two tables on source and target differs. Then also you can use your golden gate. Now in these scenarios, whenever you have heterogeneous data, you are working with heterogeneous databases, or you have tables whose structures does not match, then you will be using, there is one utility called as devgen, which comes with golden gate installation. Devgen, if you'll see, here it is, devgen. Devgen is again a utility which comes with golden gate installation. So what you need to do, you need to generate the data definition file using this devgen utility. And this data definition file will be referred to by the replicate process to apply the data on the target database file. Now dir PCS is, it stores the process status files. It stores the process status files. Now what do we mean by process status? Now if you remember,
Ashish,
yeah,
sorry, Ashish, I have a quick question. The devgen function.
right. So dir PCS, process status files. Now whatever processes we'll be creating, your extract process, data pump process, or replicate process, all those are processes. Now they have some status. They will either, when they are running, means there are no issues, they will be running. Every process in Golden Gate. Now process. So process would be your extract, your data pump, or your replicate. These all are your Golden Gate processes. Now above all, there is one more process which lies, and we'll be discussing that in detail when we'll discuss components. There is another process which is manager process. So these are the four Golden Gate processes which runs. Now every process in Golden Gate has some status. So status would of manager would be either running or stopped. Status of extract would be either running, stopped, or abandoned. Similarly, data pump will have three statuses: running, stopped, or abandoned, and replicate as well: running, stopped, or abandoned. So running means it is running fine. Running means it is running fine. Stopped means you have stopped, means I have the Golden Gate has been stopped. Golden Gate process have been stopped by typing the Golden Gate command, means we have stopped them by will. And abandoned means abnormal end. Whenever Golden Gate process come across some situation which it is not able to handle, then it goes into abandoned state. Abandoned means abnormal end, means it has not been stopped clinically, it has got into abandoned mode by experiencing some unwanted conditions which it is not able to handle. So it goes into abandoned state. Okay, so abandoned, whenever it goes into abandoned state, we have to troubleshoot it and see why it has got abandoned. So all the statuses, if I'll do, now I'm into Golden Gate command prompt. It says info all. Right now manager is automatically configured. We'll see. We'll discuss about this. Manager is automatically, you'll find over there. Now its status says stopped. So whatever process I configure in Golden Gate, I can view them by typing the command info all. I can view them by typing the command info all. So whatever process I'll be configuring, I'll be able to find by typing info all. Until and unless I configure extract, data pump and replicate, you won't be finding over here. Only process which comes by default is manager. Now if you'll find, the status shows as stopped. Until and unless I start it, it won't come into start mode. So this is the status. Now from where it is getting this status? From dir PCS folder. Okay. Now dir PRM. Now one thing is, whatever process you configure in Goldengate, extract, data pump, replicate or manager. Okay. Goldengate processes works according to the parameter files. Whatever you are going to mention in the parameter file, they will work according to that only. They won't work means whatever tables it has to capture, whatever tables extract has to capture, whatever table data pump has to send, or whatever data of tables replicate has to replicate, you will be mentioning those in parameter files. So parameter files are created under dir PRM folder. Similarly, dir rpt folder is there. Dir rpt stands for report files. Now any process, whatever process you create, every process report file gets generated under dir rpt folder. Now if I'll create extract process, a report file for extract will get generated. If I'll create data pump, report file for data pump will get generated. Now that report file get generated under dir rpt. Now whenever any process goes into abandoned state, we need to troubleshoot. We can find the reason behind why it has got abandoned, why it is not working properly. We can find that in report file. We can find that in report file of that particular process. dir SQL, it stores the SQL scripts. So there are some default scripts, or if you want to create some SQL scripts, those SQL scripts you could save in dir SQL. Now dir TMP is a temporary storage for transactions that exceed allocated memory. Now there are certain transactions which takes lot of memory. So those, to assign them some extra storage on temporary basis for those particular transactions, we could use dir TMP folder for that. So all these 8 directories have very good significance, especially you will be using this dir chk, dir dat, dir def, dir pcs, dir prm and dir rpt. At least these 6 files have lot of significance. Now let us discuss about some of the concepts and components. So Oracle Goldengate solutions, there are certain Goldengate solutions which are being provided. So it can support different number of business requirements like business continuity and high availability. So business continuity and high availability means, suppose you have one server located in India and another server located in US. So what would happen? Your transactions will keep on replicating from one server to another. Suppose your India server is currently the primary one and the other one is secondary one. So what you can do, in case of any disaster on the India server, you can connect your application, switch your application to US server, and your business continuity will not hamper. Or what you could also do, you could choose your application to be connected to your India server as well as US server, and it will provide you high availability mode as well. You can also use your Goldengate for data migration and upgradation. Now Goldengate, Oracle claims that you can use your Goldengate for zero downtime upgradations and migrations. So whenever you are upgrading the database, say from 10G to 11G or 11G to 12G, and the size of your database is quite big, say in TBs. So in the absence of Goldengate, it would require quite a huge downtime, which would be revenue loss to the organization. So what you could do, you could use Goldengate, which is near to zero downtime. Now it is also used for data warehousing. Means there could be multiple sources and you could replicate the data into single target. Or you could also choose for data integration and consolidation. You could also choose it for broadcasting. There could be one source and you could choose multiple targets for this. Now one more thing with Goldengate, why does it scores over data guard is, or any other tool is, you could also filter out the data. Now for example, there are 100 tables at source, 100 schemas at source, and you want to replicate the data only of 10 schemas to target. You could do that. In those 10 schemas which you want to replicate, those 10 schemas, every schema may have 100 tables. You want to replicate only 10 tables out of those. You could do that. Or you have one source and you have multiple 4 or 5 targets. You have 100 tables at source. So what you could do, you could replicate the set of 25 tables to each 4 of the targets. So this is how you could filter out the data, or you could also transform the data as well with Goldengate. So there are certain advantages with Goldengate over other chain data capture tools. Now you could choose your Goldengate for unidirectional purpose. So in unidirectional, it would be used for reporting instance. You have one, means in financial institution, what happens, lot of database performance is hampered because of reporting being run on the primary database. So what you could do, all the transactions would occur on one server, and on the other server all the reporting batch which you want to run, you could run those reporting jobs on your secondary server. Your bidirectional would be instant failover. It would be active. We discussed yesterday your bidirectional would be your active. Okay, so application would be connected to both of them, and in this scenario, what you could do, your transactions from one source to will replicate to another target, and transactions from one second source will replicate to your this target. So both will act as source and both will act as target. You could also choose peer-to-peer load balancing, in which you will have say 3 peers, so A, B, C. So you can replicate the data from A to B, B to C, and C to A. You could also broadcast the data. There would be one source and multiple targets. So what you will do, one source would be there, you will send the data to multiple targets. So as I said earlier, suppose at source you have 100 tables. So you could choose to send all 100 tables to all 3 of the targets, or you could choose to send 40 tables to target 1, 20 tables to target 2, and 40 tables to target 3. It depends on your requirement. You can also consolidate the data into one. You could also make it a data warehouse solution. So there would be multiple sources. However, there would be only single target. So data from multiple sources get consolidated into a single target. So it will act as a data warehousing tool as well. And you could also choose your cascading, you could also choose it as cascading as well. Now this is a case study which I can share with you later on. Means here what you could do is, sometimes what happens, look, Goldengate is a tool which works on database. though it has very minimal performance impact, but it has some performance impact on database. Now, for example, if a size of your database is in 20 TBs or 20s and 30s of TB, so 1% impact is too high. So what happens, sometimes you're not allowed to install Goldengate on a primary server. So what you could do, you could install Goldengate on secondary server, refer to the archives of primary server. So here, this is the primary server where Goldengate, where database is installed. You're putting in a secondary server on which your Goldengate would be installed. So Goldengate is not directly accessing the primary server. It is not installed on the database. Whatever archives are getting generated from primary server, those will get transferred to your secondary server. Your Goldengate setting on secondary server will read the data from the archives which are coming from primary server and then will replicate the data. So this is what is called as cascading. Okay.